Gentlemen, we're going to do the intro like this. We're going to do things in reverse order. I already shot an intro for this particular video. I just didn't like it. I didn't like where I was at mentally, and I didn't like how I was talking about this situation. So I thought I'd come back and I'd shoot a take two version of it. The problem is, the amplifier's done. So instead, I'm going to talk to you for the next couple minutes and give you some back history on this situation. So we're going to get in the time machine. We're going to go back about 5.5 months from today. 5.5 months ago, I took in an Sb-220 from my friend Zane at Big Rig Radio in Phoenix, Arizona. It needed some help and a little massaging and a little bit of work. I went through it, and I had a customer of mine that I've done business with before. He stepped up and he goes, "I want it." And I said, "Done. Done deal." Took payment on the amp, paid my consignee, done, right? He says to me in the phone call, he goes, "Well, you know, all of my equipment is red." He goes, "All my radio equipment, all my stuff is red." And I was like, I have a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, a world-renowned powder coater. He's like super famous, huge business. He's over in Seattle. His handle's RC. RC to referee. Anyhow, he said to me, he goes, "If you ever want to do a custom cabinet or something," he said this to me at my break that I had this summer, "all you got to do is bring me the cabinet. I'll do you a kick-ass job." He's got like 8 or 9 guys working for him. So I said to the customer for this amplifier, I said, "Dude, I've got a guy. It's going to take him a little bit of time, but we'll get it perfect." The reason that I said that we could do this is because the armor for the cabinet was in pristine shape. The outside case of this Sb-220 was in pristine condition. So I told the customer, I said, "Okay, man, well, I've got a break I got to go to in like a month. RC's going to be there, and I'll take him the outer armor and have him powder coat it." I said, "In the interim, what I'll do is I'll go buy a new faceplate screen for the front of the amp, and let's do a black on red, like a Milwaukee themed, kind of thing." He's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking like Fireball Camaro." I'm like, "Okay, black with white lettering." And I said, "What I'll do is I'll very carefully paint the knobs and the meters and everything, but we'll do it with epoxy based paint so it never comes off, right?" So I've done this once before and I know I can do it again. So he says, "Man, that sounds great. That'd be awesome." So off I go, packing this cabinet with me to this break, and it's over in Portland. And I hand the cabinet off. Well, it took a month or so or whatever to get the cabinet back. So now we're at like 3.5 months ago. Well, I get pictures of the cabinet. I forward them on to the customer. The customer then in turn thinks that now I have the cabinet back in my possession. I do not. I didn't want to ship it because I didn't want to get it damaged. So I had another friend of mine about 2 weeks later go over and pick it up from RC, and he hand drove it over here and hand delivered it to me, which I thought was awesome. So now we're down to about 2.5 months ago. Okay. I get the cabinet back here, and about a week after I get the cabinet, my dad, who had been fighting with cancer for a year, started to take a serious downturn in health. So that's when I shut everything down over here for a month and 3 weeks, so a little over a month and a half. And yeah, well, you all know how that situation turned out, right? So I've got this beautiful acid dipped cabinet. The reason that you cannot media blast or sand a cabinet like this is because of the fine mesh. The media will just totally eat away at it. This metal is so thin that it'll take small holes and turn them into big ones. So RC went and acid dipped this thing, and he spent a ton of time on this cabinet. It is so pretty. I mean, there is not a bend, a ding, a nick. This is like perfect. I mean, perfect in all aspects, this cabinet. Well, just about the time that my father passed, the customer contacts me and tells me that he's just been recently diagnosed with an extreme form of cancer himself, and that he's not going to be able to have the opportunity to use this piece of equipment at all. And he wants to know if I can either refund him back the money or if I could resell it for him, because he's going to want the money out of the amp. But first he came to me with a, I want the refund and da-da-da-da. Like, I can't do that. That'd be like going and buying a Lamborghini and then paying the Lambo shop like 20 grand to go and do a custom paint job on the car, and then the day that the paint job's done, all of a sudden you're saying, no, I don't want it anymore, I want my money back. That's not how this works in the real world, you guys. On the other hand, I told him that when I was able to get myself working again, he would be one of the very first projects I got to work on. Well, apparently I didn't do it quick enough for him. He messaged me the other day, and he is now in the hospital and really in, I guess, a very bad place. I just recently experienced this myself, right? So now, recognizing that we are really at that time, I decided that I would do everything I could to make this happen for him this weekend. So I started working on this Sunday morning, and here it is Monday night, and we're done. This took a lot of work. It's very cold outside, so I ended up having to paint this indoors. I did have the paint fisheye a couple times, but we were able to overcome that, and a lot of sanding. Everything is painted with epoxy paint, and it turned out perfectly. So with you guys knowing the backstory now, I want to say, gentlemen, please come and join me as we go and murder out. This is the first Sb-220 I've ever murdered out like this. It's black on red. I appreciate you guys following along. Here we go. Real quick, this amp is going to be up for sale. I'm hoping and praying that somebody out there in YouTube or Patreon land is interested in purchasing this so I can make this guy whole. But in the same breath, I also understand this is not your typical Sb-220 restore. This amplifier, I've already been through it. It's already got all the upgraded parts to it. The grounded grid, as you can see, it's got the upgraded ceramic capacitors in it. All that kind of stuff has already been done. So basically what we're doing here is just cosmetic work in this video. If you're interested, I will make sure to put in the description down below the video of me going through this and restoring this and making this one particular amp work. It does come with a brand new set of RF Parts 3 500Z tubes, basically Penalab tubes. So on that note, away we go. You guys enjoy the rest of this video, brought to you ad-free by the support of the Patreons. If you enjoy my content, please come join us on Patreon. Make sure to click subscribe and hit like and hit the bell so you know when the next video comes out. Okay, let's go. I don't like doing things rushed, and I don't like doing things half-ass. Same breath, there's only one of me here, so the reason we have to paint the faceplate is if we look in here close, let's take the knobs for example. There's a little lip. This right here, and around the switches there's a little lip that's shown. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with the screens before. It'll make more sense once I take these 2 meters off. So let's focus on that for a minute. Let's turn this around. Now we're lucky because most of these faceplates are, well, or most of these meters are very, very cracked. You got to remember when these were made, right? We have to sit and think carefully about how old these meters are. Support this meter. I don't want to screw up these screws. Okay. These things are notorious for the backing on them blowing out. because usually they got put on so tight at the backing on these things. You can see it started to bond to the faceplate, and whoever did the silk screen on this took it apart last, and you could see where the plastic started to break. These insulators that are on the back are notorious for falling apart, by the way. And why I'm back here, grab a couple pieces of solder. So if you ground these two terminals together or tie them together, it helps protect the meter movement, which these meters are very rare and hard to come across. So we got to do everything we can to protect them so they don't get damaged. What this does is the meter moves back and forth. It's the same thing with like a Bird 43. The reason you always transport a Bird 43 with a blank element in it, or the element turned vertically like so, is that it stops the meter from moving as easy. Let me show you what I'm talking about, you guys. Yeah, here, I got one just sitting here just with a... As this meter moves, it's once again a magnet with a coil of wire in it. So we'll take the blank out, and we'll shake the meter. See if I can get the right angle on this. And we'll shake the meter. You see how far it's jumping? We take the blank in there, and it moves a whole lot less. And that's because it's having to fight the magnetic field, the electrical current that is naturally being produced as the coil of wire that drives the meter back and forth. I've got to touch these an awful lot, so I need to take advantage of that. I cannot lose any of these little washers. I want to take advantage of this electrical property and see if we can make these meters last. I'm telling you, the plastic on these things is usually so yellowed and tarred out or just brittle. So we'll short these terminal legs together. You know, when I built that last Sb-220 to ever be put together, the one that was put, I don't know if it's going to be the last one, but it was a kit, a complete whole virginal, still in one piece kit that I was able to lay my hands on. That was also a consignment deal, by the way. Yep, okay. There we go. The fourth one for this is where we attach the cabinet ground for the metering circuit and for the center tap of the transformer and all that kind of stuff. All right. Oh, please come out of there easy. Nope. Nope. Telling you, these meters are stupid delicate. Stupid delicate. Okay. The reason I got to paint the whole face and I got to scrub it down is, well, it never makes sense to put a sticker on sticker, but oh cool, he tightened up his gap on the on-off switches. As you guys can see, there's still a little bit of green showing. And I've got enough time to make it so it looks perfect. I don't feel like rushing through this that bad. Same breath, I've got to get this done for this guy. He's a man of many means, and he's been decent with me. So the best I can do is be decent with him and do my best to try and get this done for him. And I'm not lying, this is kind of tugs on my heartstrings a little bit about what he's going through health-wise. So please don't think that I'm being cold about it. I am not. And these little set pins, we just bend the legs up just a little bit. And then we can bend them back, and then they'll retension themselves once we put them back on again. Here we go. Just like so. And now we can pull the Sb-220 badge off, which, remarkably enough, these are incredibly expensive. It doesn't say 221, it says 220 on it. All right, well, right now I can hear somebody out there in YouTube land screaming at me, use heat. Use heat. Yep. Say this, at least the glue holds well. All right, so now we're gonna acetone this, clean this up, and then we're gonna sand it. I mean, we are gonna sand the pee out of this thing. So we'll take this all the way back to bare metal, so I don't care. It's not gonna hurt anything. This is a one-way trip. You can see the stock green crinkle coat paint they used on the front of these things. This isn't going to look half bad. Wow, he's really done a good job. Where it's going to show the most is like around the edges, like around here. It'll show a little bit, and around these screw holes where the tapered faceplate Phillips screws go, it'll show up there. I want it to be right. Okay, let's get to sanding. I'm telling you, this MEK simulant or substitute or whatever it's called, it's not the same. It's just not. It's the drug addicts. The crystal meth manufacturers. I swear. See, we used to be able to buy, most of the places in the United States, you cannot buy MEK anymore. MEK is a solvent. Its real name is methyl ethyl ketone. It is a great solvent. To me, when I was a kid, getting to go out to my biological father's place of work, they had a MEK in a 55-gallon drum out there for where he worked. And the smell of that stuff, I don't know, I always thought it was the most aromatic, beautiful smell in the world. I didn't even look at the bottle or the jug this last time around. It says MEK substitute on it. So I had to smother this down pretty good with MEK. Oh yeah, and we sanded out both sides. To smother this down with MEK to get all the glue off. And then we were able to sand it down. First I used 120 grit, and then I finished sanding this with 220 grit. So this is relatively smooth. And now let's go ahead and deburr this edge. We want to do that because we want it to sit perfectly flat. Okay, so even though no one is ever going to see the level of detail I went to on prepping this face, because you'll never know. You'll never know. After I got through the layer of muck that was left behind by that sticker, because it was on there, around all the knobs, it was all faded from where somebody tried to clean it, and they rubbed all the paint off. And the knobs had nice orange rings on it. So whoever had this amplifier before, I guess smoked, or it was around something that left an orange residue on the faceplate. So got the meters and the knobs all taped up. I'm not even kidding. I don't want to take the faces off of these, so I've taped the meters all the way around and prepped them. That took several hours on its own, because you got to make sure the plastic is perfectly clean, and the knobs take forever. It takes a lot of work. Prep cleaning. It's 220 or 120 grit and then 220 grit. So I'm telling you, I was really impressed. I'm really impressed with this Ryobi non-directional orbital sander. It's even got a little dust collector, and this thing works. Like if I open this up, it's going to be full of Sb-220 faceplate paint. Okay, well, it's 3:30 in the morning, and I've created a little painting space in here where it's hot, because like I said, it's like 22 degrees outside. I'm going to spray this down with some 2-part epoxy-based primer, and then we'll come back and we'll put 2 coats of semi-gloss black as an undercoat for this, and I think it's going to come out looking just perfect. We are going to paint both sides. A hero of mine once told me that, his handle is Yellow Jacket, by the way, once told me, if you're going to do something, do it right. So even though Heathkit never painted the back side of these things, they just let the overspray play. We'll start out on the back, and we'll let this dry. We'll prime it on the front, let that dry, and then we'll come back and put a couple layers of nice semi-gloss black on it. Because I don't care what this guy decides to text me and be mean to me and say rude, demeaning things to me and think that he's going to bully me or rush me in any way. I understand he's sick, but still, at the end of the day, let's be respectful to each other, right? Now, I will say this little hole here, it's not stock. So somebody can take a tuning screwdriver, go right through here, and it sits right behind this faceplate. Just so you guys know, those of you that pay attention and are following along, that's where you'd put your tuning screwdriver to adjust your 10-11 meter band. Just saying. This epoxy paint is a little bit of a challenge to work with. Hammer finished this side, but then it took, I gotta change out this mat. This mat's causing this thing to be rippled. It took quite a bit of time to get here. Let me explain to you why. I keep talking about how the temperature outside, temperature inside, right? One end of this space that I'm working in, where I set up the paint booth, was cool. I took all the paints down there, I took the face down there, I came over here and I worked on taping all this up, and I laid down a couple coats of primer on this, and then I went down to put the last coat, you know, put the coats of paint on, and it fisheyed on me. So then I had to sand it all the way down, reprimer it again, and repaint it again. I've been on this all day because you can't make this go any faster. You can't make this process go any faster. And the problem with using epoxy paint is it is a booger to get off. But let's see how we did here. You know how I was talking about in the opening segment about the cabinet? I was talking about how they acid dipped that. You can't media blast that thin material that's got opening in, like what the case is made out of. You can't media blast that. It'll end up just eating a hole right through the metal before you know it. And it'll make all the holes, all the openings be uneven. So I was looking back at my text history, and I dropped that cabinet off, and it was there for several months. The case, well, it turned out pretty good. High gloss black, epoxy, not paint, epoxy. If I was to paint these knobs with just regular, like, let's say Rust-Oleum paint, within about a year or two of touching and playing with the load and tune knobs, the paint would start to come off. Like I didn't show in the prep work, what I had to do was I taped all of these off, right? Taped all of these off, and then I sat here and I hand sanded each one of these stupid knobs. It's not the first one of these I've done. I don't like doing these, but I guess the goal is to maintain the aesthetic of the Sb-220, but not the Sb-220 lime gross green. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of the green. I'm a fan of the amplifier, I'm not a fan of the green. The knobs, on the other hand, they were very forgiving to me on this project. They weren't too forgiving to me on the first time I did this with that 3-tuber that I built, or 4-tuber I built. It's been a year ago now. It's now with my friend Brian Yemen in New York, or not New York, but Connecticut. He was such a good host to me. I went to his house and we got to set that amp up, and we set up another amp that he had purchased, and ended up being able to go down and pick up my friend Donald Casanova. He's on the other end of Connecticut from Brian, and me and Donald were able to get that all running for Brian. It was a fun couple days, man. But the more you do something, the better you get at it. For instance, like the faceplate here. You know, me wildly going, oh, let's just peel the faceplate off. That was a mistake. I should have heated that up. Because what happened was it delaminated from the face and it left all the glue on the face. I spent probably an hour and a half, 2 hours last night. This is the remnants of it. Just trying to get the glue off the face, off that plate. Because I'd sand it and the glue would just ball up on the sandpaper. God, these turned out perfect. That turned out great. Yeah, nice even coat. No overspray on nothing. Man, this turned out perfect. Okay, so the trick is, I guess, is we got to clean these really good. Obviously, I'd cleaned them really good before, but it's been sitting here for a couple months waiting for all the parts to come together, despite what the guy that owns this thinks, for all the parts to come together. And I had to get all the cigarette stain off of everything to make sure the tape would stick really well. So I cleaned it last night, and then I Rubbed everything with alcohol again, and then I scuffed up the surface of all the knobs. Like I sat here with a piece of, 3M Scotch-Brite pad. Where did I set it? Here it is. This brown 3M Scotch-Brite pad, and just very carefully went over every little nook and cranny. Like just sat there and made this edge nice and scuffed up to give the paint epoxy something to adhere to, right? I wanted to be done with this today, but then I realized I was going to run into issues with time because of the paint, the setup time. It had fish eyeing on me, so I had to wait for it to fully dry, then sand it off, get the plate up to like 50, 60 degrees. That means I had to raise the whole room temperature up to about 75, almost 80 in here. Get the plate up to temperature, ambient air temperature, prime it again with a small like 200 grit. I just took 200 grit and just touched the face of it. All people care about is the end. They don't care about the work that goes into getting it to the end process, I think. I take that back. If that was true, then I wouldn't have any of you guys watching. Oh, Prime Minister. I want to stop and say thank you to my Patreon supporters. Without you guys being involved in helping me over here, I probably would have stopped the YouTube videos about a year and a half ago. So I want to give thanks to the Patreon supporters. If you watch my videos and you enjoy the content, please come join us. It costs $1. I'd be grateful for your support. On the Patreon channel, I try to put a post up every day of what I'm working on and what I'm doing. Also produce a lot of content that the YouTubers and the Facebookers don't get to see. And you also get first dibs of everything that comes off of here. Like even this project here will go up for them to look at for a couple days. If anybody in the Patreon group is interested in buying this custom amplifier, they get first dibs at it. So just might want to think about it. That's all I'm saying. Oh, these turned out. I hope these all perfectly turned out. It's really got me nervous. It's really, 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 really got me nervous are the meters, because there's no redos there, right? So very carefully, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Sorry. Perfect. Yes. I don't have to retape, resand, and redo. Yes. Okay. That looks okay. Oh, hell. I don't know why I'm crying. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? Thank you, God, for letting me still have enough vision to be able to see to do this stuff. All right, here we go. Don't rip or peel paint. Oh, ha! Look at that. Down static. Oh, it's perfect. And what I don't care about the meter movement, and there might be some smudges on the lens or whatnot, but I got the exact cut for the window outline. Nailed it. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. This all looks good. This looks good. No thin spots, no nothing. Perfect. All right. There it is. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. I was at the Steed Airport in Reno, Nevada one year. And I was working with a one race crew team in the Formula One division for the Reno Air Race. And I sat there and I watched this old guy. Now, you gotta remember, I was probably 25 years old, right? Maybe 26. And I watched him, how he put decals on. And he would he just had this decal and he's sliding it around on the side of this race airplane. And I'm like, what the are you doing? And he goes, putting decals on. I'm like, right? And he goes, shh, young man, shh. Now, I might have been drinking some gin and tonics that night in my youth when gin actually still tasted good. And he got it at his trusty dusty spray bottle. And I said, what's in the spray bottle? He goes, a little bit of water and a very small amount of soap. And I'm like, really? And he goes, just shh. Okay. Old man knowledge got passed along that day. Up until that point, I'd been doing stickers where I would just try to get them kind of, and then stick, and then that was it. What he showed me is if you just take a little bit of soap and water. Now, all you guys watching already know this trick. You thoroughly wet. It's just like putting down window tint. Thoroughly wet with a little bit of soap and water. It allows you to slide the sticker around until everything is lined up just the way you want it. It also makes taking the sticker off way easier too down the road. But what I learned that day was, see, that's not, this sticker, I can pull this sticker off at any time I want. See that? So now, the main holes, like we don't care about these holes here, getting them square, or these here, or these here. The only ones we care about are these outside edge ones. And making sure the faceplate edge is somewhat lined up and then the on-off switches are somewhat lined up. So now we can float this thing around just like so, get everything perfectly square. Then starting from the center, we just apply even pressure and we push out. And you do this on a towel or a rag and you press out. What you're doing is you're pressing the water out. I'm telling you, old man knowledge is the best. I have reused this lesson. I mean, like I sat there like, what? there's some guy out there right now, most likely an old dude, who's laughing at me right now. But then, on the other hand, there's another guy that's watching that just went, "What?" Now, you gotta remember there's a thin layer of water that's still present underneath the sticker. It will wick its way out, and this will stick just the same as if you would have stuck it. And we're talking, this guy was putting stickers on the side of an airplane that went 280 miles an hour, right? Or 300 miles an hour, right? I think. I can't remember what the stats were for our speeds from back then. That was, God, it was 20-something years ago. Now, this guy can be getting upset with me until he's blue in the damn face. I do not care. There is a way to do things right and a way to do things wrong. They even make squeegees, like window tint squeegees. I got a box of them around here someplace. If I turn the camera around, you'd be like, holy shit, look at all this stuff you got. They're in here someplace. You can use an old credit card, anything with a flat, even surface that isn't going to leave a scuff mark. I am not going to put myself in this position to be in that big of a rush. What I think I'll do is I'll take this over to the house, and I'll sit this by one of the heating vents in the house. I'm just going to let it sit and be warm. And hopefully by tomorrow morning, we can do final assembly. Tomorrow morning we'll go and we're going to scuff here, back here, this hole here, here, and here. Yep, and then we'll scuff these four corners. The reason we'll do that is so we can get good ground. See, now just me touching it, I took my finger and I rubbed it across this edge and I could feel it just almost drag a little bit. Which, this border, and this border, get it to slide, there it goes. Just a hair, there we go. I have been known to in the past to take a paint stripper gun or a heat gun, an air gun, and just kind of warm this up like hairdryer mode, but hold it way away and heat up the metal plate and just sit here and push it and work the water out. I used to do it when I do RC car bodies too. Put them on, you know, like for the windows, like when you do layers of laminate, you can just spray the water on. I mean, there is like this was filled with water to here, and it was just a little, I mean, the smallest amount, bit of water, or a little bit of soap to the water mixture. It helps with the lubrosity, I want to say lubrosity, but I know that's not the right word. It breaks the surface tension between the adhesive and the metal, or whatever surface you're trying to stick the sticker to. But it's just a very, very thin layer that then it loses its ability to bond after the water evaporates. So then the adhesive can fully stick, and it doesn't compromise the adhesive. It's basically the same principle that we use with doing tinted windows. That, gentlemen, is how we do that. That looks good to me. That looks really nice. The knobs turned out This makes me want to black out my own Sb-220 I've got. Because it's got a big old nasty ugly hole right in the face. I mean, that looks really good. It's going to look even better when that tin's on it. Let me show you that too. I don't want to put the tin on it because I don't want to get the tin scratched. I think that's part of the appeal of this entire thing. So let's lay the tin down, because I've had to try to keep this like kit gloves the last little bit it's been around here. None of the edges are chipped, none of that, right? And you guys know that there's, I mean, that's gonna look, and that's gonna look really, really good. I mean, that's like atomic fireball red. I mean, look at it's like Milwaukee red. That's pretty. So just so you know that front, back. So this is thicker, that's front. There's not a chip. There's not a ding. Oh, but what about this up here? No, it's a shiny light. That's how shiny and pretty this is. Everywhere you think you see a flaw, none. I'm freaking in love with this. I like the blackface look. I really do. That's shows every little bit of dust though. That's really pretty looking. All right, so the only thing I got left I got to do now is to plug this in and show that it's working, as in like the meters are moving and that kind of thing. We're done. I'm done. I cannot spend any more time on this box. It has eaten up, at this point, weeks of time. Either it be the time me driving the cabinet over to get it dropped off, getting it picked up and brought back over here, the time I've spent working on this now. I cannot spend any more time on this, so let's plug this thing in and fire it up. I mean, that is so pretty. I mean, ultimately, if somebody ends up buying this thing, I'd like to send the amp by itself, the armor by itself, and the tube separately, and then let the final owner do the final assembly on it. And you guys know that the armor goes on this way, right? So it's like we slide it on this way, like this way, right? Because our goal is to protect this bezel here, the front bezel. And then it sits right on the edge of this bezel. So, because I mean, there is not a flaw one in that cabinet. Did a beautiful job, RC. Good job. Sweet. Step on the foot pedal. And if this meter jumps up, I'm done. We're done. It's got the upgraded doorknobs in it. The ceramic doorknobs, not the spregs that normally come in this thing. The grids are grounded. It's got a Harbach rectifier board in it. Brand new Harbach filtering kit that's in it. Yeah. What else can I say? This isn't a 10. This would be like a 9.5, in my opinion. I know that I need to see at least 2,500, but of course I'm open to any reasonable offer on this, of course. So that's that. I don't know what else to say other than I'm gonna go wrap this thing in plastic. Pull it. Well, first we're gonna shut it off before it gets too overly hot. Pull the tubes out, wrap it all up in paper, and then wrap that up in plastic and set the tubes aside, set the cabinet aside, set all the rubberized feet, and hardware aside, and get ready to send this on to a new home. Hopefully this ends up working out and there's somebody out there in YouTube land that wants to purchase this. Man, this thing is pretty. Wish I had the extra couple $1,000s laying around. I'd just buy the guy out of the box and keep the amp. That's all I'm going to say. Gentlemen, big shout out to my Patreons down here. I do believe that this is actually going to go to one of my Patreons. I got one guy that's really excited for it. Big shout out to MechMan Bird, Coaxial Dynamics, and of course myself. You guys got any questions or anything I can do to help you out, don't hesitate to give me a ring. Thanks to Matchlet, Penna Labs. Yeah. Big thanks to every single one of you. All right, I'm done with this stressful situation, and I'm moving on to the next thing. Back over to the 2x10. I got too much stuff going on. 2x10 I go. Gentlemen, I'll see you. I appreciate every single one of you. Click, click, click.